All right, thank you everyone for your patience. Good evening, and if I could ask us, if you don't mind standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. All right, thank you. So we're going to step into, I believe, LFHS updates. Is that what we're doing first here? Sorry, my pages and my agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Noble.
Yep,
We're going first because we have the students with us and they have to go to sleep. So we want to make sure we get out of here on time. Let them meet their bedtime. Just kidding, seniors. So I've got to say it. It's fall, y'all. You can take the girl out of Tennessee, but you certainly can't take the Tennessee out of the girl. Anyway, I'm thrilled to introduce our two student representatives for the first time this year. We have Fritz Bielski, who is our student body president, and Kelsey Bambaco, who is our senior class president, and they're going to talk about homecoming and more.
So our main event so far has been homecoming, and it honestly was just such a big success. We had 1,100 who attended, which is great, and just the week up and the homecoming dance itself was just such a great experience. For like the week before, we had Spirit Week, so we saw a lot of people dressing up, going all out, which was great. Like school spirit was so high. For Spirit Week, we did You've Been Scouted, so we picked like common spaces in the high school and decorated them with like ribbon and like put it everywhere. It was so great and like so much fun. We had pep rally, which I don't know if some of you came, but it was so much fun. We tried to do like new games this year and get just so many different types of people involved. And from like the freshmen to the seniors, everyone showed their school spirit. It was great. Miss Obiala came up to us after and said that was the best pep rally we've seen in years. So that was great. It was such a great feeling, especially for student council, because we worked really hard on it. And everyone came out for the game. It just was great. Everyone was so excited to like show their scout pride and be there. And the dance was fun. People stayed till like 9:30, which was past the time that they were supposed to be there. So
lights at 9.
Yeah.
So, it was pretty good.
So that was very exciting. Just everyone stayed really late. Everyone was dancing. I was.
Yeah.
Fritz was. Everyone was there. It was just such a great time. So.
Yeah, so homecoming was such a success. I was dancing even in the boot. It was awesome. It was great. So another thing I'm involved in this year, because of my position with Dr. Leonard, is Principals Advisory Council. So the council is new and improved. The council was created last year, and so this being the second year, last year was almost like a test run, and we saw a lot of times when the council would sort of get off track. And the goal of the council is really to address problems within the school. Problems that are achievable and that will basically benefit the everyday life of every student in the school. We decided we really wanted to just focus in on that this year. So in efforts to basically improve our productivity and diversity within the council, we created a new application process. So Dr. Leonard sent out an application in one of her weekly emails, and we ended up having, I believe, I think it was like 20 applicants, but it was actually a really good mix. We ended up with 3 freshmen, 3 sophomores, 4 juniors, and 5 seniors, me being one of those. And it was a great selection of kids. We have kids who are involved in tennis, kids who are involved in theater, and kids who are not involved at all. It's a really good mix of people. Okay, so after one meeting, I think the majority of all the council's worries, they sort of surround the cafeteria. I think a lot of people have heard it before, but the majority of council members agree that the price of food is just too high. This is just one small example we have. One day I actually stepped into the grind and took these photos. Just a cup of grapes here is $3.25. Now, I know the school is not trying to turn a profit, but we have a lot of people who agree that it's just too much if they're looking to have a healthy lunch every single day. And just for comparison, if you look it up, these grapes, this is 156 milligrams or grams of grapes. That is actually 77 cents. The average retail is 77 cents for a cup of grapes like that. So you can sort of see that hopefully there's just some room to move. And I think that's definitely going to be the first goal for the council this year. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. They wanted to talk about homecoming in their first presentation, and then also Fritz was excited to introduce some of the advisory council philosophy, and this is just the beginning. I actually sent an email out to students just earlier today in my Happy Monday Scouts, and I went through many of the issues and challenges that were brought up, some of which were very much ouch moments for me personally, so I'm looking forward to working alongside them. Thank you. Great first presentation. Go Scouts.
Is Erin getting better with you guys working? You feel like she's improving? We need updates from you guys on how she's doing. Okay. You have us. You can come right here.
Right, directly to
Yep.
you.
I had an advisory committee in my previous district, and it was one of my we called it the superintendent's think tank. And when I came here, it was all students, and they just told me things I didn't want to hear but needed to hear. When I came here, somebody sitting to my immediate right said, "You're not allowed to do that here. They're my students." So I am so glad that you are giving her candid feedback. Keep it going, and we are definitely going to listen and hopefully make positive changes to what your voice is capturing as our highest need work. So thank you both very much.
Thank you for having the courage to stand up and do that too. I think that's something that we're all interested in, is making sure that your voice is at the table always. So first and foremost, I wanted to throw back something that I talked about, I think, my first year here, and it's something I didn't make up, so I can't take the credit for it. But I came into leadership with people who actually taught their administrators to always keep the main thing the main thing. So if you guys remember, I was saying that my first year because that's how I came into leadership. And tonight I really believe that you just saw the ongoing commitment that I have to making sure that we do this with the rebranding and restructuring of the Principals Advisory Council. I will often say that if you really want to know the heart of an issue, it's very easy, or the solution to any challenge in a school, all you have to do is ask the kids. Proceed with caution, though, because they will tell you what the issues are. They have this uncanny ability to cut through the noise, and then they provide this raw and honest feedback. And I pledge to always find ways to involve our students more actively in our decision-making as a school community. Their perspective isn't just beneficial, it's essential. If not for them, then who? I do want to mention, though, Dr. Hermes and I, we've been talking about this cafeteria issue because it's something that several students have come to talk to me about. And she's actually done some work to create, alongside our food services leadership team, to create a value meal. And I think that's going pretty well. And that's something that we're likely losing some money on, and the district's actually having to subsidize, but very interested in continuing that conversation. And also our cafeteria manager, Jay Herr, is wanting to stand up a staff and student advisory committee of his own so that he can learn more about what the students' concerns are. So again, this is all because students are coming forward and saying these are issues and challenges that they want resolved. On October 19th, I'm thrilled to announce that the School Innovation Improvement Planning team and I and Dr. Montgomery and other school leaders, we have the unique opportunity to meet with the Community Wellness Task Force. This is a chance for meaningful dialogue. We're going to delve into our school innovation and improvement planning, its past, its present, and its very exciting future. But equally, it's a moment for us to listen to each other, to understand the task force's goals, and to find those pivotal areas where all of our aspirations will align. Tomorrow is a very significant day for many of our students, the PSAT NMSQT, I always mess that up, NMSQT. It awaits our juniors and a group of our sophomore students. What's different this year? It's simple, it's online, completely online, and a lot shorter. The digital age has ushered in a new era for SAT. It's actually AI enhanced, which to me is a little scary, but I have to trust the technology. It's fresh territory, and I, for one, am excited to see how our students both navigate, and then I know they're going to excel in this updated format. Kudos to Donna Lavatola and Mr. Frank Lesniak, who've been hard at work alongside our tech team and our building and grounds departments, because they've done a ton of work. They'll be there again early tomorrow morning before the sun rises to make sure everything's set up so that our almost 400 students can test successfully. And then finally, next Thursday, we'll be diving into our virtual parent-teacher conferences. They'll run from noon to 8 p.m. We found last year that going virtual not only helped us stick to schedules, but also allowed a broader spectrum of parents to join. They could log in from work, they could log in during their lunch break from their car. And here's a little nudge for students. I really, for one, believe that you should join those sessions. You should be a part of them. You should hear what your teachers are saying, because it really is celebratory, and I think I hear lots of wonderful things, and I think it's important for the students to participate. You're going to be adults soon. Be part of the conversation about your own education. It can only make things clearer and make your goals more attainable. So in wrapping up, change is inevitable, but we do have our shared commitment to our students, to our values, and to our future together. It remains unwavering always, and let's embrace the new, hold on to what works, and always, always keep the main thing the main thing. Go Scouts.
Thank you, Aaron.
Can I have a quick question? Aaron, so really applaud the efforts around the value meal, because I think, good nutrition is important. You just make sure that the nutritional value doesn't go down with the price. So, French fries and hot dogs shouldn't qualify as a value meal. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Marcus. So for President's Report, a couple little items to bring to bear. So I wanted to welcome everyone and thank you all for being here. And we have a few folks streaming at the moment. We know more will watch later. I did want to call out a few items that we covered in tonight's workshop. We discussed some specific dates and activities that the board is going to be reaching out from a standpoint of public coffees and availabilities in the coming months, weeks, actually. And this idea really is to enhance from a communication perspective the availability and opportunity for us to meet and hear more directly from the community. We know not a lot of people necessarily watch or will stay through an entire board meeting, and that's perfectly fine. I wouldn't if I wasn't part of it. So how do you get that information? We send out newsletters, we do lots of different things, and Melissa Oakley has been at the leadership point of this and driving an excellent change in our environment of how we're getting the word out. And we're taking simply the next steps, the next phase, as we move into the referendum work and we move into so many important steps that we want to be able to share. Thanks, guys. Additionally, we discussed details within the metrics report. You're going to see this tonight. Hello, there we go. This is the last step. And kind of the first step in a change towards answering some big questions on student success and student growth. So when I first came in, and some of the things I've talked about is how do you define success within a school district? How do you define success for a student and their journey? Those are some of the things that we're going to be starting to really look at and examine. It's work that we've done on an individual basis. So if you go over to the school, you've had students, you've had your conferences, you go through the experience, you have a clear understanding whether your student is succeeding or failing. The anecdotes are very clear and they're very loud. But when you start to move the data up the chain to the board, and as we look at it to really define the bigger questions and what the scope is, much, much harder to do. And how do you standardize that? How do you bring kids that are extremely unique, but at the same time measure them in the same way? And so a lot of these questions are being answered, and I think you'll be impressed with the work that's been done. It led with the portrait. It worked into the strategic plan, and now we're arriving at the metrics. This is not it. There is a lot more to still do. This will be a continuing evolution, but it is a wonderful foundational start to us. The last thing I want to bring up, and we addressed it shortly in the meeting tonight, which was an awesome thing, is that we're going to be having a motion and action item shortly around Lake Forest High School continuing its path as an exceptional school and learning environment. We took a step with Matt and Aaron and the leadership within administrative, bringing them in. We took a step with the referendum. We took a step with the portrait and the strategic work and the other things that are coming. And we took a very important step with the LFEA, and could not be happier. It's fantastic. So we'll talk a little bit more about that at a moment coming up. And I applaud you, John. Thank you for you being here, your leadership, and we're so excited about all of you and what's in store. And I'll have additional things to say about that. But what we're talking really about is building a culture, a strong culture, a culture of respect and trust. And this takes time and effort. And I am just so proud of the work that has been done by so many to invest in our community, the culture here at Lake Forest High School, and the direction for our students going forward. So thank you all. Our superintendent report.
Thanks, John, for those wonderful words. Tonight's superintendent's report is fairly brief, which I don't think anybody will complain about, but I'm going to hit on a few topics. I think I am. So there's 4 topics that I'm going to touch on briefly. The first one is what John referred to around strategic plan. I'll talk about a bond rating and the bond sale, and then finish with the grateful market that's coming up this weekend. When we look at the work that we have done, tonight we are taking the work of the portrait to the final step and the first step simultaneously. So we created a portrait in 2 years ago. Last year, we developed the strategic plan. Tonight, you're going to hear a report on the metrics. And what's behind those metrics are a great deal of action steps. And what that means is that we have successfully connected a vision to actual transformational work that will permeate into the classroom to enhance the educational experiences that we have for our LFHS students. And I'm excited, while it's less glamorous conversations, it's not as flashy, it translates to meaningful changes that will impact the trajectory of thousands of students over the next 5 years. And that gives me great hope and pride, and I look forward to Dr. McHugh sharing that work in a few minutes when we get to the report section. Speaking of pride, the fact that last week we found out from S&P that we maintained our AAA bond rating is no small feat, given that we are one of 20 AAA rated districts in the state, as well as there's under 100 in the whole country. And the fact that 3 of them are right here, 67, 65, and 115. And I was exceptionally excited that not only did we maintain, or did we achieve the AAA for the debt that we are going to be assuming with the bond sale, but there was a reaffirmation of our existing books that we are AAA in the proceedings and the financial security that Jen and her team provide year over year. And this is the 22nd year that the district has maintained this rating, and that should be something that is celebrated in these communities, because what that means is that tomorrow, when we move into our bond sale, it puts this district in the very best position possible as we put $105.7 million up for sale. And that is happening tomorrow at 10 a.m., and we will be excited to share the results of that. There are 8 confirmed bidders. The market is looking favorable, albeit tumultuous over the last month, and we've been watching it very closely. But there will be more news to report post that sale tomorrow at 10 a.m. I will finish with the Grateful Market, which is something that is an amazing experience for our community every year. It is happening this Sunday, October 15th. The reason I'm talking about it is that we're still, normally I talk about it afterwards, but this is a gentle reminder that we still are looking for donations, and we are still looking for people, for volunteers. So this report will be online, and we encourage you to scan the QR code or visit our website because Sunday should be a wonderful event of giving back and celebrating the partnership with Waukegan, and it is a day of giving. So we hope you join us in that experience. That concludes my superintendent's report. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Montgomery. At this point, we will look at public participation, excuse me. We'll hear public comment subject to our board policy 2:230. Lake Forest Board of Education welcomes public attendance, participation at all meetings. It is hoped by utilizing these guidelines, participation will be maximized, both in terms of fairness and organization. There will be 2 opportunities for public participation. This opportunity is truly limited to just the items listed on this evening's agenda. If you have other topics to comment on, please hold that for the second opportunity in the public participation later in the meeting. At this moment in time, before I read things additionally, are there any members of the public who wish to address the board at this time? Okay. All right. Seeing none, we'll move on to our reports. The strategic plan metrics report.
I will turn this over to Dr. McHugh, and he will lead us through the presentation tonight. Thank you, Dr. McHugh.
Thank you, Dr. Montgomery. As Mr. Noble said in his president's report, this has been a long time coming. We started with the portrait, then went to the strat plan, and now we have metrics that we'd like to present to you tonight. And this graphic shows where the metrics relate to the strategic plan. If you look at the strategic plan, the goals, the objectives, that's at the top. That should drive everything that we're doing. The 115 metrics, as well as the academic outcomes and financial measures, should all support the strat plan. And basically the wheel that makes everything go are the school improvement and innovation plans. Those are called the SIP plans. They're one-year school-specific plans that are developed by the staff, by Dr. Lennart and her staff. And that really is the engine that drives everything for the strat plan. So who are we measuring? We have almost 1,500 students at Lake Forest High School. And as Mr. Noble alluded to, with all of these different students, it's hard just to put one metric on them. And what we're trying to do through these metrics is looking at our students as individuals. The metrics are going to help us, but ultimately, there's no one metric that can measure our students. So that is not what's attempted here. But ultimately, we are hoping that the metrics support basically what the community wanted through the portrait of the learner and helping us make adjustments in order to fulfill that. We already have a lot of academic outcomes that we measure. Here are 8 of them. These are things that we've been doing previously, in addition to financial measures that we track year in and year out, like fund balance, bond ratings, and cost per pupil. But the purpose of these metrics really are to highlight the priorities of the strategic plan that came out of the portrait of a learner. It also serves to change the behaviors and practices. We don't want this to be just a piece of paper that we have hanging up on the wall. We want it to be a document that ultimately changes our practice. And we want to provide transparency and accountability to the board and the community for the work that we're doing. So there are 3 goals on the strat plan. Each goal has objectives, and I'm not going to read all of the language on these slides to you. I do want to focus on the metrics. So goal 1 is for every student to develop the knowledge, skills, and dispositions to cultivate academic growth and success. And we have 2 metrics in objective A, which focuses on college and career pathways. One is attainment. We do want 100% of our seniors college and career ready, as defined as earning Distinguished Scholar and Career Scholar, or have a post-secondary plan by 2028. That's a pretty high benchmark right there. Dr. Lennart could probably speak ad nauseum about everything that goes into that, so that's a very high benchmark for attainment, and we do want, by 2028, 100% of our seniors to attain that. We also feel growth is important, and we do want our students to make expected growth each year in math and ELA in grades 9, 10, and 11. We'd like them to exceed their growth, but ultimately, we're hoping that every single student achieves their growth. Objective B this is really tied to the portrait. Objective B is that the high school will encourage the academic mindset, skills, and attributes needed to demonstrate confidence, adaptability, and resilience. That's coming straight from the portrait, and we thought that the best way to do that is to have a portfolio in 12th grade that will demonstrate students' competency in these areas. And we don't have a baseline for this yet. We're going to need to create this. We're going to create it during the school year, define that baseline during the 24-25 school year, and ultimately in June of 25, we'll have that baseline to set the metric for June of 2028. Objective C is empowering educators, and the way that we're going to measure that is to increase faculty and staff participation on identified committees or leadership positions focusing on student growth and achievement. Again, we don't have a baseline for that. That'll be defined this school year, and then we will know in June of 2023 what we're going to aim for in June of 2028. Goal 2 is for every student to establish healthy and collaborative relationships to support academic growth and wellness. The objective metrics in fostering healthy relationships is the CSCI. That's the Comprehensive School Climate Inventory. We've been giving it here in 115 for over a decade. There's a student component and an educator component, and we want the responses to maintain at least a 3.5. That's out of 5, and that is in the positive end of that measure. And throughout this process, we looked at the CSCI and we went back and forth. Is this the best tool for us? We thought it was for right now because we have historical data. We have 9 years of data. It is reliable and credible, and it's economical. And we do acknowledge, though, that there might be tools down the road that we'll find will better measure this. But for right now, this is our starting point. We do want these metrics to be flexible, and if we find something better, we will certainly pivot to that. Goal 2, Objective B, nurturing a responsive and inclusive culture among students, families, and educators. We're also going to use the CSCI for that. And we want to keep student responses and educator responses in the positive standing with respect to diversity, social support relative to adults, and social support relative to students. There's a lot of terms in the metrics here, and we do have a glossary that defines exactly what we mean by all of these terms. Moving to Objective C, engaging all students in the development of social and civic learning. Once again, we're looking to use the CSCI, but in this one, the educators' responses are higher than the students. And we want to close that gap so that the students' perceptions at least mirror the educator perceptions by 2028. And finally, empowering educators through distributed leadership. We do want, again, to increase faculty and staff participation on committees. So this is the same metric we would be using earlier in the plan. The last goal is for every student to have a school environment, facilities, and resources to support safety, academic growth, and wellness. And for this, the safety of students and adults in the building, as well as a district-wide infrastructure, a lot of this does go down to the facilities master plan, which the referendum heavily will address a lot of that work. So the implementation of the facilities master plan will lead to us attaining this goal. And the last objective, Objective C, forging community partnerships, we're going to look to use a validated community survey of satisfaction to see perceived satisfaction growth over the term of the strategic plan among residents with no students in the district. We have approximately 70% of the community who don't have students in Lake Forest High School, and one of the big pushes while we developed the plan was to connect more with the community. We feel like this goal is going to help us really reach out to those families and community members who don't have students in the school. Looking ahead, the SIP plan is annual. It is something that Dr. Lennard and her staff leads. We'll continually adjust those plans. We'll use the metrics to guide us. And we'll see some of these metrics we might need to adjust. And that's okay. We know that this is a flexible plan. We're going to need to continue to change it. But we will continually come back to the board and the community to report out on what's been working, what isn't working, and how we're pivoting to address those changes. That's the end of the report. What questions do you have?
Additional comment. and this is just highlighting the work of the SIP team, we worked in concert with the work that is being done at the building level. And I can't overstate how important the leadership from the faculty is in the partnership to move this work ahead. And I couldn't be more excited that there at the table, Aaron's leadership has really worked at a collective, distributive leadership model, and you're seeing that materialize real time through this report. And we will continue to lock arms as we work through this plan in the coming weeks, months, and years.
Thank you, Jeff and the team. And I know Mike Nicholson, right? Sorry, and AJ were part of those reviews and so many others. So I applaud the work and thank you for taking the feedback. I think there was various ones of us communicated, and I think you captured a lot of that. And I know, again, this will evolve, and we'll get where we need to go. But I couldn't be more pleased where we are, and we've got a way to move forward. So thank you for that. Without any other questions, we go to the board committees. So first off, John Benson with the Education Committee report.
Thank you, John. My committee minutes will stand as a report on the committee meeting on the 19th, but I'd like to add one comment, and that is that while the words can reflect the conversations, what can't be reflected is the extremely gratifying level of engagement and interest shown by both the committee members as well as the faculty and staff who were in attendance. And I look forward to that continuing as we move through the agenda that Aaron has put together for the committee over the year. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Dave with Finance and Ops.
Yeah, so not a long report, no presentation this time, but on the meeting on the September 28th, we went over the end-of-year actuals as compared to the projections, and there were some changes due to timing of just some revenue that came in and also some expenses that are just timing-based, so those should resolve themselves. Otherwise, no significant differences. We spent the majority of the meeting talking about the 5-year plan, but we did it not quantitatively, which was great. And we're going to see those numbers in the next Finance and Ops meeting in November. But we had a great conversation about how to qualify and how to describe the changes in ways that are meaningful and understandable beyond just the fund and the object, which is what we're forced to do for the state. But how do we put this into initiatives or actions that we're taking that impact the operation of the school and student outcomes? And so how do we tie the 5-year plan and any changes that have happened or what we're investing in to those kind of outcomes instead of just accounts on a spreadsheet? And so that was a very great, engaging conversation with the community members and the administration and the board members. So it was really great. Jen also took us through the levy calculations, and so we'll be, I think, approving that next board meeting, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe, yeah, tentative in November. So that was pretty straightforward. And then Dan gave us some really nice updates on the progress of the McKinley Crosswalk project, which I know the foundation's very excited about. They've been wanting to see that happen for a while. I'm sure the students will benefit from it, so that's great. And then also on the transition and grounds projects, which is currently on schedule and on budget.
Thanks, Dave. Policy, Ms. Davis.
The Policy Committee met on Tuesday, September 19th, in conjunction with our colleagues in District 67 to review the recommended policies submitted by IASB in Press Issue 112, as well as some updated policies that were recommended for review by the administration, and you'll see those both called out separately in the consent agenda. Because all of the policies submitted for review by IASB were just part of the 5-year review process, and none of them had substantive changes to be made, we're going to recommend that the board accept the updates from IASB and that the first reading be waived. in part because they're not substantive and in part because we need to make our deadline with IASB. There was also a discussion about going through the full policy manual to actually look at policies that are not currently scheduled for review, but to read them with more critical eye to ensure that we are actually, as a board and an administration, following what's written in them. So we're going to undertake that in chunks as we go through, which will be a good exercise for both boards. We also have Press Issue 113 coming up at the end of October or early November. So we will be meeting again before the end of the calendar year with our colleagues at District 67 to review those.
Thank you, Sally. On the liaison reports, there's just one Ed Redden legislative update. So that is posted. I will not read all of it. It is that time of year for IASB's resolutions and for our consideration to direct our board with our single vote. We will do this next month. I've attached the resolutions for everyone to review. They cover 5 different areas: industrial construction, school resource officer funding, bus driver regulations, employment history review, and alternative safe school funding. So these are additions to resolutions and initiatives that ISB is chasing, along with their own policy statements and work that they do on a legislative basis day to day. So these things we will consider and give either support or not support for us to have our delegate at the November 18th meeting. There's some additional items from the Ed Red side of things around some bills that are likely to come up with the fall veto session. And so those are listed within the report as well. So that is there for anybody who wishes to fall asleep. Light reading at night. Anyway, with that, we'd like to move on to the action items. And action item number 1, which I would like, let's see, here we go. So we got, may I have a, we'll talk about it in a moment, but let me get a motion in a second first. May I have a motion to approve the Lake Forest Education Association contract effective July 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2028. Yeah, there we go.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. With a first and second, any comments from the board? I have a few, so I will let someone else go first.
It was surprisingly unpainful. Thank you. It was always lively, but it was done in good faith, and I felt very lucky to be part of the process.
So I was with Sally for most of the meetings as one of the 2 board representatives, and again, I did not have to leave or walk out, which I promised to do if it got nasty. So I never had to leave, which applaud you all. Thank you for not putting me in that position. More importantly, the comments and things that were made, and I think the trust that has been earned over the last little bit has been huge. I think Matt and Aaron get tremendous credit, but at the same time, John, you and the LFEA as well, because it's not a one-way street. And the courage you guys have shown to step into the relationship and take part in Aaron's ideas and the change of the leadership we went through, the change extracting ourselves out of COVID and all of the other things, that work has been just fantastic by your side. And I see it every day from my kids that have gone through and the teachers. And I think 3 people I saw today just made comments just bizarre to me, just walked up and said hi. The school is fantastic. I love what you guys are doing. You're doing so great. And yes, I know there's a couple loud detractors out there in the world, but for what we hear day in, day out are really positive things. And I know the effort's there, and I see the effort. And I think what we're trying to do is create a better way forward. And I think the energy and the thought and the consideration that is there on a daily basis of putting the students first, as we do as well. And I just couldn't be happier. And what we're approving effectively is another 5-year contract. And the ability to invest in probably the most valuable resource. The building, yes, it's probably more expensive, but that is merely an environment. And to take the idea of build it and we hope they come, that was not the point of the referendum. The point of the referendum was to fix so many critical things to allow you all to continue to excel and create the greatest opportunity for these kids that is such a special place to allow them to excel in their own way. I would love to get every kid to move every potential, but they may not realize their potential. I certainly didn't till I left high school, but high school shaped me. And this is, you guys are, and you know you're doing this work. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Any other comments? All right, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Ms. Zinser?
Aye.
Dr. Schaubacher?
Aye.
Mr. Reinberner?
Aye.
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Dr. Vinson?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 2, adoption of resolution amending the resolution adopted by the board on September 12th, 2023, providing for the issue of not to exceed 105.7 million general obligation school bonds, Series 2023, for the purpose of altering, repairing, renovating, and equipping the Lake Forest High School facilities, providing for the levy of taxes to pay said bonds, and authorize the sale of said bonds to the purchaser thereof. May I have a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Comments on this item? I think we met with Liz Hennessy, and so I don't know if, Jen, you want to just hit it super quick, what we're actually doing, which is really just more of a footnote, but please.
Really is, it doesn't change the fundamentals of our sale at all, other than it allows the opportunity for investors to change the coupons on the bond, which is really something they need more on their end as they look to potentially resell those bonds to other investors down the road. It has zero impact on our total borrow. It has zero impact on our potential yield. That will, of course, be market-driven tomorrow during the sale. As you mentioned earlier, it is a competitive sale, so we will wait and see the results, but this will provide hopefully maximum flexibility and maybe stir a little bit more competition even for our bonds.
Great, thank you. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Weinberner?
Aye.
Dr. Vinson?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Dr. Schaubacher?
Aye.
Ms. Zinser?
Aye.
Mr. Burns?
I'm sorry, I think there might be a little delay on my audio and video at this end. So if my votes are coming in slowly, I apologize. I'm doing them on time from my end.
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. May I have approval for the transition furniture?
So moved.
Second. Thank you, second. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Burns?
Aye.
Ms. Zinser?
Aye.
Dr. Schaubacher?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Weinberner?
Aye.
Dr. Vinson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Great, thank you. Item number 4, may I have a motion to approve the strategic plan metrics?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Comments on this? So I'll let Matt comment slightly. This is something that effectively doesn't have to be done, but it was part of, I think, our support and thought within this entire process as we kind of have approved every step of the way. And just your comment on leadership on this.
So in my previous leadership roles, developing portraits and strategic plans in other districts, there has been a varying level of degree in board engagement for a whole host of reasons. What I will say about 115 is that every step of this process, you have been all in through the portrait involvement, through the strategic plan, and the metrics. And the reason I'm asking you to vote on this issue that you don't need to vote on is to memorialize and to symbolically stamp your approval on the journey that we're on. And we're on it with everybody that helps support this district, and that's why the request is there. And I thank you for joining me in this process, because this is hard work. It should be hard work, but it's exceptionally meaningful work. So thank you for entertaining this with me.
Thank you, Matt. And again, thank you for the team and the work that's happened to date and the work that is in front of us to continue. So thank you. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Dr. Schaubacher?
Aye.
Mr. Weinberner?
Aye.
Dr. Vinson?
Aye.
Ms. Zinser?
Aye.
Mr. Noble?
Aye.
Ms. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Burns.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, may I have a motion for the waiving of the first reading of updated policy 4:80?
So moved.
Second.
May I have, do we need to cover, okay. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Noble.
Aye.
Mr. Burns.
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner.
Aye.
Dr. Vinson.
Aye.
Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Dr. Schabacher.
Aye.
Ms. Zinser.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, since we waived it, we get to do this. May I have a motion to approve the second reading of the updated policy 4:80, accounting and audits?
So moved.
Second.
You want to talk or no?
Oh, I just want to apologize because I told everybody it was on the consent agenda.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Burns.
Aye.
Dr. Vinson.
Aye.
Ms. Zinser.
Aye.
Dr. Schabacher.
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner.
Aye.
Mr. Noble.
Aye.
Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Motion carries.
May I have a motion to approve the waiving of the first reading of press issue 112?
So moved.
Second.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Dr. Vinson.
Aye.
Ms. Zinser.
Aye.
Mr. Noble.
Aye.
Mr. Burns.
Aye.
Dr. Schabacher.
Aye.
Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Item number 8, may I have a motion to approve the second reading of press issue 112?
So moved.
Second.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Zinser.
Aye.
Dr. Vinson.
Aye.
Mr. Burns.
Aye.
Mr. Noble.
Aye.
Mr. Weinbrenner.
Aye.
Dr. Schabacher.
Aye.
Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Right, consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items including, do I read all these or no? Items 1 through 7, please?
So moved.
Second.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Weinbrenner.
Aye.
Mr. Burns.
Aye.
Ms. Davis.
Aye.
Dr. Schabacher.
Aye.
Dr. Vinson.
Aye.
Mr. Noble.
Aye.
Ms. Zinser.
Aye.
Motion carries.
So we had FOIA requests, Pete Jansen's 14 of 14 complete, Ms. Dooley 2 of 2 complete, Ms. Sight 1 of 1 complete, Ms. Naddison 2 of 2 complete, Maloka, I don't know, Safeway, sorry, pronunciation, my reading capability, 1 of 1 complete, Janine Az 1 of 1 completed, Sherry Red, Smart Procure, 3 of 3 complete, Jeff Brinkett, 3 of 3 complete. And then at this point, we are now to the second public participation and would be more than happy to hear any opportunity from the public that has wanted to stay. And so if there are any members of the public who would like to address the board, please do so. And the only rules are just to simply, state your name, say who you are, and you can share whatever else you would like to. Our board clerk will time you, so we'll give you as much latitude as we can, 3 minutes usually. And if you would address the board with your comments, that would be fantastic. And we usually listen, so hard not to react sometimes, but we don't. Go ahead.
I did practice today, but I had to cut some out because I heard it was only 3 minutes. So. My name is Cindy Dell, and I just retired from Lake Forest High School on June 3rd after 18 and a half years of co-facilitating in a classroom and coaching. In the beginning of my career, I was hired as a one-on-one aide and worked with an incredible young man who had cerebral palsy. I learned so much from him and will be forever blessed for those 3 years that we were together. I also learned that in order to be good at my job, I needed to put in more effort than what was expected. And that is when I began to understand the value of an aide in the special education department. What was expected? Was it expected that I just come to work, put in my hours, sit in a classroom like a bump on a log, take a 25-minute lunch break, and go home? If that was the case, then I could certainly justify my starting pay of $10 per hour. I have a college degree, as do many of the aides at Lake Forest High School. Now, I realize this was my choice to take the job, and please don't misunderstand. I loved my time at Lake Forest High School, and love and miss my peers and friends and mentors on a daily basis. But the value of the aides, in my opinion, at Lake Forest High School is sorely misunderstood and misplaced. The starting pay for aides or teaching assistants is $20 per hour. That is ridiculous. Are they aides? Are they teaching assistants? Are they co-facilitators? Does anyone know the answer to that question? Well, I hate to inform you, but our own aides don't even know that answer. Yet they are the ones in the classroom day in and day out, making sure that all students in the classroom are receiving what they need educationally and emotionally. They are the ones who work alongside all students and teachers, not just students with designated IEPs or 504s. They are the teacher's right-hand man. They are the ones who arrange for time outside of the classroom to meet students so they can get caught up or stay on top of their homework. They are the ones who rarely take a lunch break and most of the time work through their lunch to meet with students because that one is when the student is available. They are the ones who are often helping the students to pass a class. Most aides at Lake Forest High School go above and beyond their 7.5-hour workday. Most of our aides put in more time than you know by doing the homework, learning the course content, and working at home to be able to be the best for their students. Many of the aides are in 6 or 7 classes a day, and most of the times those may be in different course areas, but still are expected to understand the course, help, and assist. I challenge you to attend a class or classes where there's an aide so that you may truly understand the job that they do. We are struggling at Lake Forest High School to get good aides that stay for more than a year. When we do have new hires, they are thrown into a classroom without proper training and tools to be valuable and supportive. How are they supposed to feel confident and worthy? We have aides at Lake Forest High School that may not have to do the job for pay, but for others, their stories are very different. This job might be their first job out of college, first time paying rent. They may be a single mom or dad trying to make ends meet. $20 per hour cannot help that. The inequity in pay for these great people is unjust and unfair. When other support staff may be making $6 to $10 more per hour. The key to hiring and keeping good aides and to maintain continuity in the classroom is to make them feel valued. I can honestly and sadly tell you right now that they do not feel that way. Lake Forest High School is a fantastic educational institution. All 3 of my children attended Lake Forest High School, and I will always be an ambassador for Lake Forest High School. It's about the students and ensuring their emotional and educational wellness. And that I saw every day by our great educators. But we also have to ensure that our employees receive that same support. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Cindy. And if there's more to say, you're more than welcome to email us, and I'd be more than happy to take that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Okay. Moving on, quick announcements. So Sunday, October 15th, Great Full Market, as Matt had talked about, at Beacon Place in Waukegan, Illinois. Friday, October 20th, no school for students and staff. Tuesday, November 7th, the Board of Education meeting at 7 p.m. here. Monday, November 13th, Finance and Operations Committee meeting in the West Campus Boardroom. With that, may I have a motion to adjourn the Lake Forest Community High School District 115 Board meeting for October 10th, 2023?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.